What up, friends? That's not my name. And today we're going to be reviewing Keshi's newest album, Gabriel. This is actually the debut album by American singer-songwriter Keshi. Keshi's been making waves ever since he released his first few EPs back in 2018, and he's just been growing in popularity since then. Honestly, I get it. The mood Keshi's going for is pretty universal, something that everybody can get into at some point. These simple guitar and trap-influenced alternative R&B sounds are simple on the ear, and his vocals also gel with this sound pretty nicely. Keshi's not reinventing the wheel or anything, and I think he'd be one of the first people to tell you that. The simple and vibey sounds are definitely something that we've heard before, but he does have some sort of unique charms and quirks to him that make the sound his own, and it's not one of the worst examples of the genre by any means. The opening track of the record, Get It, is really fun. It's a very different sound from the rest of the project, but it's pretty cool nonetheless. It's an engaging and braggadocious anthem of sorts, featuring these very smooth flows, heavy bass and beats, alongside some pretty hype energy. I gotta say though that the beat switches from the sort of screeching synths to these light and delicate piano and guitar passages are pretty cool. The transitions are seamless. Distorted vocals can also be very hit or miss, but I like the way that they were used here. They're kind of used in the background as an accent piece rather than being the core focus of the track, which is nice. I also kind of appreciate how it's almost like a sensitive bragging anthem, if that makes sense. Like, Keshi's getting his bag, but he's also realizing that it might not be everything that he wants. One of the next tracks I wanted to talk about, Touch, is another pretty great one, I think. The delicate piano and vocals mixed with this warm, deep beat fit the sort of lustful aesthetic yet also sensual side of this track's lyrics and general vibe. I also think, again, that the distorted vocals were used pretty tastefully here. The beat in general is pretty different for the record too, and it shows how Keshi can make his sound more full and expand on it further if he really wanted to. The flows are soft and fit the vibe, and the track just kind of comes and goes without drawing too much attention to itself, which is perfect for the aesthetic that he's trying to hone in on here. MILLI is definitely a weaker track though, feeling less like an actual song and more of a glorified intermission. The beat is fine, I guess, but the chorus is pretty repetitive and the verse isn't nearly long or engaging enough to get the track going. It's also kind of awkward to have one of the more bragging lyrical songs be over such a soft beat like this. It's kind of awkward and underwhelming because of it. Heaven Hell is another pretty good one with a very somber intro chorus leading us into the melancholic vocals and main beat. The beat in general is perfect for this sound, with these sort of acoustic guitar strums feeling very cold and isolated, before we get into the chorus, which has this warmness that Keshi feels like he's longing for. This is present in the lyrics too, with Keshi feeling grateful for his fame, but also feeling more restricted than he was before, kind of comparing it to a controlling relationship. The track is very textured overall, and I'm digging the sort of glitchy transition effect that are thrown in here and there. It definitely feels like one of the most fleshed out songs on the album, almost giving me like Quadeca vibes at times, which is pretty cool. Angostura is another one of the weaker moments on the project, feeling like your average guitar-driven alternative R&B song. Everything from the riffs, the skeletal beat, and average flows are just kind of the bare minimum for this ballad sound. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I honestly probably would not be able to pick the song out of a lineup if you told me to name a Keshi song. To be honest, it feels like anybody in the genre could have made this song, and it's not very interesting from an instrumental or lyrical standpoint. It has this sort of fuckboy vibe to it that is not the most endearing thing out there. Angel is definitely the best ballad on the project, I think, with these punchy electric guitar passages to balance out the isolated feeling piano. Keshi is crooning to some pretty high highs, I have to say, and the general progression of the song is more engaging and interesting compared to a lot of the other songs on the project. It definitely has the most elaborate structure, at least. Lyrically, it is simple and to the point, but I think that works to the track's benefit, as it kind of lets the instrumental do most of the talking, with Keshi being an accent to that instrumental. The build-up has some pretty nice payoff, and I do think it is one of the more memorable moments of the album. The rest of the songs that I didn't cover from the record are alright. They're just kind of vibey, though, like something that you just put on in the background. This album definitely has flashes of inspiration and luxurious sounds on it, but for the most part, it's just kind of content in doing the alternative R&B routine. Like I said at the beginning, Keshi's not exactly reinventing the wheel here. He's largely just singing over a pre-established sound, which is definitely fine for what it's worth, but it's just not the most engaging thing out there. The more layered moments on the album, like Touch and Hell Heaven, are probably the most standout moments on it, and I really wish he did more of that instead of this simple acoustic guitar trap beat combo like what's on most of the rest of the record. It's fine enough for what it is, despite some hiccups here and there, and it's definitely pretty pleasant to listen to, but there's nothing that really grabs me and makes me want to come back to the album overall. I'm feeling a strong 5 for Keshi's debut album. Of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and I have to say, this is a pretty banger album cover. Like, the whole aesthetic feels like kind of what Denzel Curry was doing for his latest album's rollout with his singles. It has that sort of like cyberpunk aesthetic to it, with the very fuzzy image, with the very sort of muted colors, but very distinct colors as well. I like how the text is distorted with him at the forefront. Just the whole vibe of the album cover is really great, and I think it does fit the instrumentals on here too. But of course, those are just my thoughts on this newest album by Keshi. What did you guys think? Do you think this was a pretty solid debut project? A good sort of expansion on his EP sounds? Or were you hoping for something a little bit more lush? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you too put this on, airing every car ride that you go on. And until the next one, farewell.